gets witty. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Young Closer Podcast. It's your host, Jacob Hagerman. Guys, shoot me a follow on Instagram at The Real Young Closer. Guys, we got a pretty great episode going on today. I got a couple of questions and struggles, some of the frequently asked stuff that is, sent out to us, through our Instagrams, Facebook, through our text, whatever it might be, people just reaching out to us and just trying to take their sales and their businesses to these next levels. And so, I want to be able to answer a couple of these questions and just, give the question and give kind of my way into this. And so this is going to be for, salespeople. This is going to be for the sales leaders. This is going to be for, anybody that's in an organization that deals with people and human capital. And it's one of the hardest things in the world to deal with, which is human capital. Like dealing with people. The reason why CEOs and top-level executives are the highest paid position is because not only of the decision-making skills that they need to have, but the fact that they are dealing with certain types of personalities in all parts of their company, whether it be the CMO who's dealing with the marketing or the CTO who's dealing with technology or, the salespeople, the managers, the leaders, the people who are the creatives. All of these types of people have different personalities and they respond to different things. And so like when you get into your area of your business that you have the biggest struggle in, I guarantee you that there's a person on the other side of that problem that we got to learn how to deal with better. And so I'm going to go through some of these questions and give him my feedback. And so first thing I want you to do is I want you to grab a piece of paper, grab a pen. So then that way, if you hear something that you're like, you know what? I have been dealing with that. I have been struggling with that. I want you to write it down. And then as I give you part of my answer, if you like what you hear, write that down as well. Because there's a lot of people right now that are watching podcasts, that are watching all of these interviews, whatever it might be, but they're not learning anything. And so what I want you to do is I want you to take this little 30 minutes that you're going to be watching, and I want you to have some micro learning. I want you to be able to have something that you can actionably take into your business and your sales and with your people. And so, pause the video, get you a piece of paper, get you a pen, and get ready to learn. Because it's all about learning nowadays. And the speed and time it takes for you to change is going to be the difference of you having a Goliath-sized business or you just staying on the launch pad and never going anywhere. So let's get into it. And so the first question that we got right here is the number one objection that salespeople are dealing with. And, I would say this, especially in recent time, you're going to be hearing a lot of money objections. Like, hey, the money, it's just obviously maybe it costs a little bit more. The payment's too high. It comes down to, interest rate, whatever it might be if you're in the automotive space. So I'm going to say number one, it's going to be money, but then it's also just going to be simple stalls. And so what I want to tell you guys is when it comes down to these money objections, the deal is the reason why they think that the money problem and they think it's a problem is because what we've done is we haven't slowed down. Like you got to think about it like this. In whatever industry that you're in, your understanding of the business is all the way up here. The client is most likely going to be down here. And what I mean is the interworkings, like maybe if you have an approval process with the banks, maybe you have, inspections that might need to get done. Maybe you have to have a medical test for an insurance policy. Your understanding is way up here. Your client's going through the process with you. And so when that gap is too big from them, from where you are to where they are, well, the deal is that's where objections are going to come in. And so being a true professional is trying to, they might never get onto your level, but raise them to get closer to where you're at so then that their understanding is better. And so then that way a decision can be made confidently. When a confused mind does absolutely nothing, it's just going to say, hey, let me think about it. And then they're going to step away from the conversation. They're going to step away from the deal. So then that way they can have time to think about it because we didn't do our job correctly. And so with that money objection, what you got to do is you got to build up that value. You got to go back to the hot buying buttons. If it's, let's say, selling a car, there's a reason why they came to the dealership today. You got to look at it in the terms of McDonald's. I've never seen somebody go to McDonald's, talk to the box, okay, that takes your order, go to the first window, hand over a debit card, go to the second window, okay, and then come out on the other side with no food. Like McDonald's has the best sales team in the world. They're at 100% close ratio. You go through the box, you tell them your order. I'm telling you, they are getting money out of you, and then they're going to give you your food, and then you're going to continue on with your day. The deal is I think it's crazy that some people, take 2 hours out of their life to, let's say, to a car dealership or spend, 15 hours with a certain realtor on a certain house, and then for them just not to buy. I think that's absolutely absurd. It might be my delusional belief, but when it comes down to that right there, I want you to just have this mindset of, hey, like if they go through the entire process with me, they are here to buy, they can buy, they will buy as long as I do my job right. If I don't do my job right, they're probably going to walk. And that's to no fault. It's not to your customers. It's not to, your manager. It's not your leader. It's your fault that that deal didn't close up, that the deal didn't get locked up. So when it comes to money, okay, throughout the entire process, they're going to tell you, why are they here? They're going to tell you what changed in their life that made them, start thinking about a decision like this. They're going to start thinking about and talking about, hey, why you? If you're the first stop that they visited, well, I'm going to tell you this. You should close that deal, because whenever I go to spend money, I spend money at the place, and I go to the place, the one that I think I'm actually going to do business with. I do it first because I like not wasting time. And you have to think about this with your clients. If I'm at a dealership, okay, and let's say I'm selling Toyotas, and I'm the first store that they come and visit. Well, the deal is, the reason why they came down to that Toyota store is because in their mind, the store that they actually want to go visit is that Toyota store. They're not going to go to the place that they least want to visit first. So you already have that in your favor if they're early in the process. But you need to make sure that they know that and take that from the unconscious to the conscious. You need to really build the value of the vehicle. Why'd they come see you? What about their vehicle? And take all of these hot buying motive buttons and continue to talk about that and how it alleviates a problem. Solving small problems gets you small paychecks. Solving big problems create big paychecks. It's just, your paycheck is a direct reflection of the size of problem that you can truly solve. And so when it comes to dealing with the money, you just need to slow it down a little bit and get your client to be in lockstep with you when it comes to this buying decision. Okay. Then when it comes to the time stalls, it's simply because you miss something in the deal. Okay. Or it's, they're uncomfortable telling you no. And I want you to write this down. Like in this day and age, people are too polite. Most people aren't going to tell you no anymore. Most people don't like friction. They don't like conflict. They don't like confrontation. And so a lot of folks will just say, yeah, I just need to think about it. And then they know that they're going to ghost you anyways. They're just too nice to say no to you. And so the way that you can communicate in true salesmanship is to continue to get that information out of them, to figure out if it's really like they just need time to think about it, figure out if it's something a part of the deal, or, if it's just like they're just too nice to say no. And if you can place one of them in one of those buckets, well, then now we know how to proceed. If we know that there's no deal there, well, then great. I don't have to spend time following up with you. If it's something in the deal, let's take the conversation back to the deal and see what's causing you that little bit of that internalized turmoil that's making you want to step out of this decision. And then if it's, they just truly need time, well, then we can handle that and figure out why. Okay. And so when it comes to dealing with that number one objection that people are dealing with, that's the way that I want you to start thinking, okay? And so if you would just slow this little video down, I know I talk quick, but go back and just kind of rewatch that in the areas that you're struggling in and start to rephrase and reframe the way that you're pitching, the way that you're closing. Game changer. That right there, you shouldn't lose any more deals. And if you do, well, it's because I didn't do my job right, okay? Number 2, okay, this is from a leader, okay, building a sales team. And they're struggling they're struggling with growth. They're struggling with numbers, struggling to keep their team fired up and motivated. One thing I want to say about when it comes down to leadership is, number one, it's a very difficult dragon to slay. You're dealing with people, as I said. And when it comes to, like, let's just take Andy, for example. When I first started with Andy, we're in Oklahoma in a 700 square foot conference room. It was really easy to motivate us because obviously, like, we were the early adopters to the Elliott Group. Like, we were fired up to be there. We left our other jobs, we left our careers, we left our families, left our houses, left our home states to go work with Andy. We were the easy early adopters. Now, I guarantee you in your company, those early adopters were already fired up and don't need to be motivated. But as we continue to grow, okay, we're going to find more people that might have the talent and the skill, but they might not have the love, the heart, the drive, the buy-in that the original founders have. And so when it comes to building a team like that, you got to know, number one, what inspires and drives those folks. For some, it might be money. For some, it might be purpose. For some, it might be just madness. They just need to be the greatest at what they do. For some, it might be the notoriety of like becoming like that number one guy in the company. Everybody is driven by something else. If you're a leader, I really want you to slow down with your people and just figure out what they're truly after. Because if you know that, Johnny over here, he just wants to go make, 200 grand so he can go buy a Porsche. Well, now we know, okay, he wants money to go make a Porsche. It's going to be pretty easy to inspire this kid with money. If you know Susan over here wants to, be an amazing mom, to, let's say, her 2 kids, because her mom walked out of her early in life and she wants to go provide something crazy for her life, well, then guess what? Now you know what really drives her. If you know somebody wants to go buy a house, be the bloodline breaker, buy their, somebody a house, whatever it might be. If you know that about your people, well, then it's easier to inspire them. It's easier to get them right back on the wagon wheel to continue to work through the hard days, to continue to push, to continue to make the calls, to continue to take the ups, whatever it might be. But it's time consuming. And I get a lot of leaders, saying like, hey, what if I, pour all this time into somebody and then they quit? Well, I mean, what if you don't pour all of that time into somebody and they stay? I mean, what is the worst detriment to the company? I mean, you can get it where you've got a lot of bad people who might not fit your culture. Maybe they aren't inspired anymore because the leader isn't, pulling that out of them anymore. And then now they work in your company and your company is slowly sinking. Or you could lose a bunch of time, but now you know how to truly go find out from people what really gets them going and what gets that motor humming. Well, guess what? Now it doesn't matter who walks into your company. You know what you can talk to them about, what you communicate about that gets them that little bit, that extra edge. You put them in overdrive. It's like throwing, rocket fuel on. Well, if you know how to do that, I'm telling you, that's what some of the best leaders in the world are able to do. They're able to find your desires, your motivations, your passions, truly what gets your clock moving. If you look at Andy's driven by madness. He just wants to be the greatest at everything that he touches. That's his deal. He is very competitive. He hates losing. I would almost say that Andy, what drives him more is not the reward, but the fear of missing a mark, a fear of missing a challenge, the fear of missing a target or a goal or a standard. I think that's what motivates Andy even more than most people. Like if you look at a guy like Patrick Bet-David, he's an amazing entrepreneur. Just sold out of PHP for, a couple $100 million. What motivated him and drove him was the fact that his father got made fun of at a Christmas party. And he was like, I'm never going to let anybody else make fun of my family. I'm going to go put my name on the map. I'm going to go be that person. He goes, they're going to have to, KILL me before I ever let that day go and that dream get sold. And so guess what? Look at what he's done. Minority owner of the Yankees, sold his company for a couple $100 million, is building one of the biggest media companies in the world, has a massive team. I think he's living up to his promise. But it wasn't just a logical goal. It wasn't like, you were like, oh, let's go make 20 grand, Johnny. Why are we going to make 20 grand? Okay, what are we going to do with that money? Okay, now that we have it, what's next? Okay, great. Take it deeper. Get away from just the logics of everything and actually go deeper into the emotional part of it. Like the stuff that hits you right here in the gut and makes you go, damn, dude. All right, I got to work a little harder. If you can do that as a leader, I'm telling you this, the production level that you're going to be able to have out of your team is going to be a game changer, okay? It's not fun. It's something that's going to take a little bit more time. It's something that if you don't do, well, you're going to pay the price. That's it. If you don't do it, you're going to pay the price. Because leadership is a role where, often the reward and the compliments don't flow really uphill, okay? You take less of the spotlight, you put other people in the spotlight. Sometimes it's thankless. No big deal. But the question is, who's laughing their way to the bank? Who's providing for the family? Like, who's truly showing up and taking care of business? Well, I guarantee you with the right leaders, that company is it doesn't matter. It's going to take over. I simply have never seen somebody give 110% of their effort and their heart and their soul and every fiber of their being and then walk out a loser. It just doesn't happen. The universe don't play like that. Okay. Next question. Hit the mic. Next question is going to be culture. How to build it. I'll tell you this, like the Elliott culture was culminated with the early adopters, just being like ruthless, relentless, being a bunch of barbarians, like just doing everything in the world that we can to figure out how to go, turn a dollar, build a company, protect the dream. And guess what? It's worked and it still works to this day. But now our culture, what we've done is that we've taken some of our core values, okay? Like if I show you the Elliott Group core values right now, which will, at the time of the recording of this, you're not going to see it, but In post-production, we're going to have it shown up and pulled up so then that way you can see what our core values are because I'm going to read them off to you. Really simple. Okay, we've got trust in God, loyalty, standard setter, lead by example, recreate daily, be disciplined, accept responsibility, take initiative, always be learning, be selfless, family, overcomer, teamwork, believe, love, never quit, no shortcuts, do the right things, be jacked, respect and integrity, no egos. It's right there. When it comes down to those core values, you can have any type of conversation internally with your team and pull from those core values. And if everybody's listening and watching and living like that, and they're also kind of self-policing, well, I'm going to tell you this, the core values are going to help build that culture. But now you've got the team camaraderie. But now you've got a bunch of people that are pushing hard together on the same mission. We've all got our individualized goals of what we're trying to achieve in our lifetime, but the company's vision and dream, it's always being sold. The company's dream is always being sold to its team, to its people. The Andy and Jacqueline and the Macklins, they're always selling the dream. They're always selling it because sometimes we grow numb to the dream. We grow numb to the finish line. We grow numb to where we're heading because some days, we can go, months without seeing any new progress. But in reality, we're making all the progress. It's just the scenery looks the same. And so we get numb to it. And so if you're building a big culture, as a leader, you need to be on the front lines a bunch. So there's times in your seasons of your business to work in the business, and there's times to work on it. If you're still in the building culture phase, you need to be working in it. Like, you need to be close with your people. You need to show them why you're the leader, why they should be bought in. Like, hey, why are we somebody who's going to be, showing up early and staying late? Why? Like, why does somebody dedicate the time of their life to you and your company and your dream? Why should they sell out from some of theirs and buy yours? Well, if you're not selling the dream, somebody else will, and they will pick your people up. They will poach your people, and it's not really much poaching when it's easy and they come over to you regardless. They walk over the fence line, okay? And so culture, it's difficult to build. There's sometimes when a cancer grows in the company, it might be a top producer, and you got to let them go. You got to have that hard conversation with them. Like at the Ellie Group, we've had those conversations. The right person with the wrong attitude and the wrong actions, they might be a great producer, but guess what? If it doesn't fit the company mold and where we're heading, then we have to let that person go. Because what they're going to do is they're going to tarnish more people. So let's say that one person ruins the mindset and the belief of 5 other people, okay? So now there's 6 total people affected. That one guy leaves, okay? These 5 are still fractured. These 5 are still thinking of the past, and it's going to be difficult to get them back on mission, back on the train, back on board, okay? So you got to cut that person off before they can infect the rest of the team. And we've had to make those conversations. We've had to make those decisions. They're not easy. But guess what? Every single time that they've happened, throughout all of my time of being here in the company and watching some people leave, the team gets closer. The team realizes that leadership's looking out for them. But then as the team gets closer and the team has more trust, they have more buy-in, they have more belief in the company and the mission, more production magically happens. And it's not like anybody gets any better on skill. It's not like the leads get better. It's not like, oh, we're fired up to be on the phone again. It's just simply the belief in the team and the company that gets a little bit better, and then the production follows. And so culture is difficult to build, but you got to know where you're wanting to head. You got to know what are your standards. You got to know what are expectations out of people. And guess what? Like if Andy slips up, dude, the guy who's been here for 3 days can call Andy on it. But also the guy who's been here 3 days can't get upset that he got called out on not following standards. Because before anybody who works here, they know exactly what our core values are before they ever step foot in the office day one to work here. And so it's not a knowing problem. It's simply a caring problem. And so culture is finicky. Culture is difficult. Culture will make or break industries and make or break, entire franchises. But who's at the helm when it comes to leading the culture? It's going to be the people that are on the front line, the leaders. And so if your culture is, backsliding, I simply say it's because you're not tending to the garden. I think you're looking at greener grass down the road, and that doesn't do anything for your garden. And so focus on where your feet are planted in your company with your team, and I promise you it's going to be even better. And then the last question that I got right here is, how do I become a better closer? And so what I want to tell you is this is, being a better closer isn't about word tracks. It's not about, being able to speak smooth. It's not about having some cool, one-liners. It's not about having just the most firm process. I think being a better closer is simply going to be just becoming a better listener. Like I once got told from one of my managers back when I was in the car business, hey, listen, if you listen, your clients will tell you how to close them. Like they're going to say something in passing or directly to you in conversation. And that's exactly what you need to grab onto. So then that way you can go close up the deal. Like these people aren't just walking around and just mindlessly looking at cars, aren't mindlessly looking at life insurance policy. Like they're not just mindlessly going through life about to go buy something. There's intention behind it. And almost every single time their intention gets brought up as to why are they looking. And if you could answer that question for them and give them that solace that, hey, listen, this is the right person to do business with, well, that's how you become a better closer. Because you're giving more reasons and excuses as to why they need to do business with you and why they need to do it now. That's the number one key to becoming a better closer is become a better listener. Slow down a little bit. Let your clients talk their way through things. Like one skill set that I had to learn a whole lot was I'm so fired up to talk sometimes when it comes to like being on the phone, trying to, sell something, that my client would be answering a question and then I'll talk over them thinking that they were done, but then the client's sitting there going, dude, I can't finish my thoughts entirely. Sometimes people need to pause for a second to gather their thoughts. And so one little challenge that I want to put you through is slow down a little bit. After you ask a client a question, just let them answer it. And then ask them a furthering question. Like ask them, like, hey, what do you mean by that? Or why would you, why do you say that? Or what made you interested in that in the first place? Just go deeper. And then be quiet. Let them talk. And if they take a pause, literally just count to like 2 or 3 in your head. And either if they're still talking, they're going to keep on talking. And if they're done, they're going to be like, oh, you there? You're like, oh, yeah, I'm absolutely here. I'm just listening and making sure that I don't cut you off from, cut off one of your thoughts. I know sometimes it takes me a second to gather my thoughts. So if I go silent, it's just so then that way I can make sure that I'm listening to you and hearing everything about what it is that's going on in your life and what's brought you to this decision so I can serve you the best. That's a professional. And so being a better closer is becoming from being a better listener. Now, there's obviously, you're going to have to go through your process. You're going to have to go through a needs analysis. You're going to have to go through your process of figuring out, not only this is what they need, but this is what they can afford. This is what the options are available to them. And then curate a pitch around that. But when you're in that needs analysis, being an active listener, not just somebody who can write something down on that piece of paper. But guys, if you're selling life insurance, like, oh, yeah, I want to get a $500,000 policy. Oh, yeah, great, man. You can answer it like that. You can be like, what made you think about a $500,000 policy? Well, I want to be able to take care of the kids and the wife and the family. Yeah, I totally get it. Why now? Just let them answer that question right there. Build some urgency. And it's not a bad question to ask. But that is what's going to make you the best closer that you can possibly be. Is extracting all of the information out from your clients, which is not a bad thing. I'd rather close the deal knowing that I got everything out of my client when it comes down to what's going on in their head versus closing a deal that took me 5 minutes and I didn't ask them any questions. I'd rather slow it down and get everything out so then that way they feel valued. That way they feel seen, heard, understood, and that they don't double question or double think the product that I said, hey, this is what's going to solve your problem. Like sometimes we got to slow it down a little bit so then that way we can speed up. And so here's a couple of my questions that I wanted to answer for you guys. I think that's all 4 of them right there. And so here's what I want to tell you guys. Number one, like my big thing is going forward, I want to do a lot of Q&A, a lot of times like this where we could just talk for a little bit, figure out what's going on, in your life, in your business, and how we can take you to the next level. And so, on Instagram, just shoot me a quick little DM. It's at The Real Young Closer. Let's get close. And I just want to keep on, pushing out these episodes like crazy and, get as many of them out as I can in 2025. I think this is going to be a big year of growth, and we're about to go kick some ass. And so, listen, I love you guys to death from the bottom of my heart. Follow me on Instagram at The Real Young Closer. I look forward to you guys, in the next episode.
He's with it, and I hit the 4-5 on the west side, but I'm from the east.